Alright, so how do you sync up the audio from your external audio recorder so that instead of sounding echoey and far away like it is right now, you get this nice, crisp, clean audio for your videos, no matter how far away your camera is? Find out in this tutorial right now. Hey, I'm Brian Miller, magician and motivational speaker. If you're a regular subscriber, thanks so much for sticking with me, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. So we've been doing this Audio 101 for Video Creators series, and in a recent video I mentioned that I would do a tutorial on how to sync audio with video when you're recording separate external audio using a portable audio recorder such as the Tascam DR05, like we've been talking about. A bunch of people recently reminded me, hey, you said you were gonna do that video and you haven't done that video. There's two primary methods to sync audio with video in today's world. One of them is easy, the other one's easier. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, you need to take care of a few things when you're actually recording the video and recording the audio before you get into the computer, before you get into your editing software later. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that whatever you're recording audio with has all the right settings. If you're not sure what those are, you're gonna wanna click this link up here. That'll take you where you need to be, then come back and watch the rest of this video. But the most important setting besides getting your levels right is making sure that you're recording audio externally at 48 kilohertz, not 44.1. If you're not sure why, click the link up there. There'll also be a link in the description down below in case you're not sure and wanna check out that video first. The next thing you're going to do is something you've seen people do before and you probably weren't sure why they're doing it. You're going to clap 3 times. What this does is really, really important. The reason for those claps is that they're going to allow you a visual cue once you're in your editing software to sync up the audio with the video. The reason that we clap is because it produces a harsh, abrupt, loud sound, which means if you've got a bunch of different cameras around, like a camera here and a camera there and a camera there and external audio, and later you're gonna do a multicam shoot with the audio you're recording, then you've got 3 different cameras plus the audio and you need them all to sync up all at once. The clap is loud. It's loud, so anywhere in the room, any of the cameras, no matter how far they are away from you filming you, should be able to hear that with their internal microphones built into the camera. Plus, of course, the external audio they're recording is probably much, much closer to you and it'll hear it as well. The other reason is that it's abrupt, and that's really important for when we go to sync it up later, as you'll see in a minute when I bring you into the computer. By the way, those abrupt kind of peaks, those spikes that I'm talking about, those are called transients in audio, just in case you're curious. Okay, so let's say we're doing something real simple. 1 camera plus 1 external audio. So you've got 2 files. You've got your AV file. If you're recording with your camera, it's got internal microphones, or maybe you've got an external shotgun mic plugged into the camera itself. So you've got your camera audio with the video, and that's all in 1 file, probably an MP4. And then you've got your external audio file, which is probably, hopefully, a WAV file, maybe an MP3. Okay, then we're gonna come over to the computer and we're going to bring in our 2 files. So let's say we've got this file, and then, come back, and we've got this file. So one of these is our video file. So let's just rename that video for the purpose of this tutorial, and one of them is audio. At this point, what you're going to do is you're going to take the video file and drag it into your timeline. Drag that out a little bit so we can see it better here. Hey, look at me go. And then we've got an audio file, and we're gonna place the audio file below it. Now you'll notice that if you're looking down here, yeah, let's get that to stop doing that. If you're looking down here, you see that we've got all these different hand claps, and the audio down here is a separate file. So this is what it would look and sound like with both audios. So you can hear that the audio and the video are not in sync with each other right now. So in order to get them in sync with each other, the reason for those hand claps is that you can see very, very clearly where the 3 hand claps are because they're spikes like this. And so what you're going to do, let's say we're going to start with this. You're going to bring over the spikes, make sure that you're not, take off the magnetizing thing over here. Make sure that those spikes line up perfectly, just like this, and as long as those spikes line up perfectly, we could just take the audio all the way down, and now hey, I'm Brian Miller, magician and motivational speaker. If you're a regular subscriber, thanks so much for sticking with me, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. And now you've got your audio and your video synced perfectly. So all you gotta do is bring in the two different files and then line up the hand claps and mute the audio from the video file. Now, if you're using a cheap consumer grade portable audio recorder like the Tascam DR05, and that's what it is, it's a cheap consumer grade recorder. If you record a really, really long video, like a whole hour of you on stage or something like that, you may find that even if you sync up the beginning of the video over the course of an hour, it starts to lose its sync a little bit. So you may have to occasionally go in, figure out where it's starting to get unsynced, maybe 20, 25 minutes in, and cut in between words or during a pause, and just slightly drag the audio back or forward, depending on what it needs to be, to resync it up. And you may need to do that a couple of times over the course of an hour. And you can do this in any editing software. You can do this in the free, basic, editing software. It doesn't have to be the fancy stuff. However, if you're using fancy paid software like Final Cut Pro 10 or Adobe Premiere Pro, there's an easier way to do this. You can use an auto synchronization feature. I've never used Premiere Pro, but I know this option exists in there. I just don't know what it's called. So for those of you who use Adobe, leave it in the comments below what the analogous function is over there in Premiere. Over here in Final Cut, here is my other option. I've got my video file here and my audio file here. I'm going to select both of them together, and I can do that by holding down the Shift key. So if I click video, hold down the Shift key, click audio, they're both selected, right click, and hit synchronize clips. I get an option here for synchronize clips, and I'm going to call it, let's see, video audio sync, starting time code, 0000000. Click use audio for synchronization and disable audio components on AV clips. What this is going to do is it's going to use the waveform to do the sync instead of using a time code. If you don't click the use audio for synchronization, it's going to try to sync it with a time code. And if your time codes are off from your different devices, as mine always seem to be no matter what I do, it's not going to work. So you say use audio for synchronization. That means the software is going to do behind the scenes what I just showed you how to do manually. It's going to look at the waveforms and sync them up. And then if you check disable audio components on AV clips, it will automatically silence the audio component on any of the video clips that you're syncing up. In other words, it's going to do what I just showed you how to do manually. It's just going to do it all for you without having to do anything. You can come down here to custom settings and set all your specific stuff that you want it to be. But if we do this, boom, done. Done, done, done. And now I have a single file right here, video audio sync. You see this little linked thing here, that's the synchronization. That means it's a video and an audio sync that the computer did for you, that the software did for you. That's what that means. And then you bring that down here, and now you have your entire audio video sync in one file instead of separated out into two different files. Hey, I'm Brian Miller, magician and motivational speaker. So those are your two simple ways to do it. One of them's easy, the other one's easier. You can do it manually by lining up the hand claps and then muting the audio on your video file. Or you can use a synchronization function in Final Cut Pro 10 or whatever the similar function is over there in Premiere Pro or whatever software you're using. I know it exists. I hope this was helpful. Thanks very much for sticking with me. My name is Brian Miller, and always remember that our world is a shared experience. Thanks very much. See you on the next one. All right, so Figment, no.